Welcome back. Good afternoon. So, please open your handouts. The handouts that was posted in the group. Open it. Done? Got it? Opened. Aita? Fine. Now see. ಏನ ಪಾಸ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಬೇಕಾ ಯಾರ ಫೋನ್ದು pre-Congress political organizations. Fine. So, this is one area which can come into prominence this year because many organizations 150th 175th anniversaries like that, so they assume a lot of importance. Okay, so now see, to understand the political thinking in India, the nationalism in India, and even the socio-religious reforms in India, it all starts with one person. Without him, there is no like political nationalism. Without him, there is no reforms. It all converges to one person, that is Rajaram Mohan Roy. So, we have to start with him. Okay. So, Rajaram Mohan Roy, as I told you, he is also a political thinker and he is also a reformer. You know him more from a reformist angle, but less from the political angle. So today we'll also explore that political angle of Rajaram Mohan Roy, because his organization Brahmo Sabha, it is almost nearing 200 years. So he can be asked. And also in the last mains, they have asked one direct question about Rajaram Mohan Roy and also Young Bengal movement. So Rajaram Mohan Roy is always important. Okay. So Rajaram Mohan Roy, he established something called as Atmia Sabha. Atmia Sabha. It is a close group. Atmia means whom? People who are close to you. So it was a close group, group of close associates, and they used to discuss on various political and social issues. Whatever was happening in that country, whether it was sati system or opposition to widow remarriage, opposition to girl education. So whatever was happening in the country, they used to discuss about those burning issues in a small group. Okay. So there was both political and social discussions. It was not a public forum, it was a private forum. Understood? Me and some of my close friends, like that. It was a private forum. There they used to discuss all these things. And this is a kind of foundation for the future organizations. And later, as you all know, Rajaram Mohan Roy, he started Brahmo Sabha. And through Brahmo Sabha, he advocated monotheism, concept of universal religion. Okay, he advocated rationalism, modernity, so he did a lot of good things, and he used to publish three important newspapers. Okay. First one, you already know this. Samvad, Kaumudi. So this was a Bengali newspaper, and he was using this newspaper to pursue his social reforms. So he was trying to build the public pressure through this newspaper, so as to educate the people about the need of the reforms, okay, the evils that persist in the society and the need for the reforms. This was in vernacular language, and this was something which later inspired Banga Bhasha Prakashika Sabha, 1836. It is regarded as the first political organization of India. Okay. So the people who were associated with all these things, they were only the founding members of Banga Bhasha Prakashika Sabha. So what is the objective of Banga Bhasha Sabha? Name itself says. What is the Bhasha that is spoken in Bengal? Bengali. Prakashika means publications. So increase the publications, increase the education, increase the literature in Bengali language. That itself is the objective. Name itself says. Banga Bhasha Prakashika Sabha. There were some important activists. Write down. Banga Bhasha Sabha, 1836, founded by. It is not there in the handout. Why? Because class ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಬೇಕು ಬರೀ handout ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದ್ರೆ. Some things are purposefully left out. Write down. Debendranath Tagore, founded by. But why ಅಂತ ಯಾಕೆ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತು? ಹೌದಾ? ಆಯ್ತು. Debendranath Tagore, Prasanna Kumar Thakur, Gauri Shankar Bhattacharya, Okay. So now Samvad Kaumudi, 1821, Bengali. You know this. There is one very less known thing. That was Brahminical magazine. Again, 1821, used to publish it in English. Brahminical magazine. So this was something which he used as a counter the influence of Christian missionaries, where he gave reason-based justification for Vedas and Upanishads. He tried to defend his religion against the encroachment by Christian missionaries. Okay, this was something based on reason and logic. Not because my faith is attacked, like I'll respond to them irrationally, nothing like that. The articles in this Brahminic magazine was based on reasons and logic. Okay, it was against the encroachment by Christian missionaries, the influence of the Christian missionaries. Okay. And lastly, Miratul Akbar. Okay. So this was a Persian newspaper published by Rajaram Mohan Roy, Persian. And he was the first such person First Indian to publish a Persian newspaper. First Indian to publish a Persian newspaper. It was a strong critic. It is there in the handout. Don't write down. Just listen. Whatever is there in the handout, don't write it down. Okay. It was the first critic of colonial administration. So whatever, like it was giving the political criticism. See, Samvad Kaumudi social. Samvad Kaumudi social. Brahminical magazine religious. Okay. Religious justification, all these things. And Miratul Akbar political. Okay. And Miratul Akbar, in many sources, it is given like it was shut down by the British authorities. But it was Rajaram Mohan Roy, he himself stopped its publication as a mark of protest against the press restrictions. It was not shut down by the British, rather he voluntarily closed it. He voluntarily closed it. And what was that press restriction? Any idea? What was that press restrictions meant for? First Anglo-Afghan War. Right on, that is not there in the handout. Press restrictions during First Anglo-Afghan War. Okay. Who was the Governor General of Bengal at that time? Any idea? Find out. Governor General of Bengal. And who removed these restrictions? Right on. These restrictions were removed by Charles Metcalfe. These restrictions were removed by Charles Metcalfe, the liberator of the Indian press. We have given a title to him. The liberator of Indian press. Because he was the one who removed these restrictions that was imposed during the First Anglo-Afghan War. Okay. This is not there in the handout. You should know it. Okay. And then, see, Rajaram Mohan Roy, he expected, don't write down, listen. He expected the support of the government to make the reforms happen. He thought with the help of laws, the reforms are going to be more effective. It is going to be more effective because it will be accepted by more people since it is given by the government. So that was his approach. He wanted the legal interference. Therefore, he built the pressure on the British, and the British government came up with abolition of Sati, 1829. Who was the Governor General of Bengal at that time? William Bentinck. Write down. Abolition of Sati, 1829, William Bentinck. ಇನ್ಬೇಕಾರೆ ನಂಗೂ ಕೊಡಮ್ಮ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್. ಶೇರಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ಕೇರಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಲ್ವಾ? ಟೀ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ ನಿಮಗೆ. ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎನಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ಲೋಟ ಇನ್ನೊಂದಿದೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಈಟಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್. ನನಗೂ ಆಸೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. It will distract me from focusing on the lecture, task at hand. ನಾನು ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ಎಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದಿರ್ತೀನಿ ಒಂದೊಂದ್ಸಲಿ, ಹಂಗಾಗಿ ನನ್ನ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಯ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ನನ್ನಿಂದ ಸಿಗ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಸಹಕರಿಸಿ ಆಯ್ತಾ. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹಂಗೇನಾದ್ರು ತಿನ್ಲೇಬೇಕು ಅನ್ಸಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂಚೂರು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಂಗೆ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಶೇರು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ತಿನ್ಕೊಡಿ, ನನಗೇನು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಊಟ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲಾರ್ದು? ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಉಪವಾಸ ಮಾಡಿರೋರು? ಯಾಕೋ ಮಂಗಳವಾರ ಯಾವ್ದು ಉಪವಾಸ? ರಂಜಾನ್ ಏನು? ರಂಜಾನ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟಿಂಗು ಇನ್ನೂ 10 ದಿವಸ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬಿರಿಯಾನಿ ಹಾಕ್ಸ್ತೇನೆ ನನಗೆ. ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಒಳ್ಳೇದಾಗ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿಸಿಲ್ಲ ಕಣ. ಬೇಡ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಲೈವ್ ಐತೆ, ಬೇಡ. ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ನೋಡಿದವರು ನಾನು ತರಲೆ ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಗಷ್ಟೇ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲಿ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗದ್ ಬೇಡ. ಯಾಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ವಾ? Okay, so let me start reading the handout and I'll add to it. If there is anything to add to it, I'll add to it. Okay, you write it down. So now we discussed about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. I told you about his organizations. Okay, Atmia, Sabha, Brahmo Sabha, and newspapers that he published, everything. And avoid assuming him as a nationalist leader because there was no concept of nation. There was no national movement. So avoid that assumption. Okay, so he was a political critic. If there was any wrongful policy, he used to criticize it and all, but he was not a nationalist. Okay, so political critic and nationalist, they are two different things. Fine. And then, like as I told you, he supported he believed in state-supported reforms. Means the reforms, for it to be effective and acceptable, it has to be supported by the government. So he demanded the British to enact the laws like abolition of sati. Okay, so who did it? William Bentinck, not given there, write it down. And tomorrow, whenever you get the handout, please try to bring the printout of it because any additions, you can make it here only. Okay, so every day I'll give you 2 or 3 pages of handouts that will consist of everything that will be discussed on that day. Any extra thing, obviously, like we'll write it down, and some things that we need to add to it or enrich it, we'll do it there itself, so that there won't be any duplication of efforts. Okay, so the next important person about whom I want to discuss is Debendranath Tagore. Okay, so why Debendranath Tagore? Because again, he is a person having multifaceted personality. He is not only a reformer, but he is also got that political angle. Okay, so what were the reforms he did? See, he was a spiritual and a moral reformer, and he was not completely supportive of state-led reform legislations. Raja Ram Mohan Roy believed in government interfering and bringing the reforms, but he was not in favor of that. He did not believe in states interfering and making changes. He thought any changes should happen from within. The moral transformation. You should understand that sati is a problem, so we should not force the women to perform sati. You should understand child marriage is a problem, so we should not force the child to perform the marriages. He did not completely believe in the effectiveness of the laws in this regard. So any change that has to happen in the society, it should start with transformation of minds and hearts of the people. So the moral and ethical transformation of the individual beings will lead to or overall result in the societal transformation. If, see, let's say all of us, we are in one society. I get the transformation. I believe, now I start thinking that child marriage is bad. I'll convince some of you, and most of you will get convinced, and overall the entire society will get convinced. No, we'll stop performing child marriages. So initially I'll get a transformation of mind and heart that sati is bad. I'll spread that awareness. all of you will also come to believe that sati is bad. So it starts with individual, and if every individual in the society believes in it, obviously it will result in social transformation. This is what Debendranath Tagore believed. Understood? So just because of a law, there won't be change in minds and hearts of people. So he thought laws have inherent limitations. Whatever that happens from within, the transformation of personality, it is permanent. But laws have only the coercive nature. It can push you to do some certain things against your own wish. So you might be reluctant to follow the laws. Correct, Alvenappa? So that is what Debendranath Tagore believed. And he also started one organization called as Tattva Bodhini Sabha. You should know this because this is something less known, and UPSC will try to extract the less known things from you. Okay. So through Tattva Bodhini Sabha, he promoted monotheism and the values that were given in the Upanishads. And again, he also advocated reforms through Tattva Bodhini Sabha. What is Tattva? Philosophy. And what was the famous philosophy that was there at that time? Monotheism. Because worshipping multiple gods will lead to intercaste, interfaith, rivalry. So Rajaram Mohan Roy thought one God. What is Brahmoism? Universal religion, universal path. People belonging to all faith, worshipping one God. So that was the famous Tattva or philosophy of that time. So even Debendranath Tagore believed in monotheism, but he supported monotheism on the basis of Upanishads, Vedantas. Okay. So, and then he was also against the missionary encroachment into Indian sphere of life. Okay. And he led Brahmo Samaj in after 1840s, after the death of Rajaram Mohan Roy and all. He was the one who led Brahmo Samaj. He made it very popular through his lectures, speeches, articles, etc. And he was also associated with British Indian Association. Okay, let's keep British Indian Association aside for a while. We'll come to it. Okay, we'll come it in a chronological order. For now, keep it aside. Okay, and as I told you, he was not a radical reform. He advocated gradual reform. Gradual reform through change of minds and hearts. Okay, and lastly, emphasized on inner religious purification, means transformation of minds and hearts. Same thing. And next we will talk about Keshab Chandra Sen. He was a radical reformer. During OGP classes itself, I will tell you, Debendranath Tagore believed in transformation of minds, and Keshab Chandra Sen, he believed in action. Debendranath Tagore believed in preaching, and Keshab Chandra Sen believed in action. Wherever there was child marriage, he used to go and stop it. Wherever women were forced to stop, were forced to perform sati, he used to go and stop it. Okay, so he was into action. And youth like what? Speech or action? Action. So Keshab Chandra Sen got a lot of youth following. Okay, but there were internal struggles or internal clashes with Debendranath Tagore. Debendranath Tagore did not approve his methods. He told any permanent change should happen only through transformation of minds and hearts, inner purification. You cannot force the purification. But Keshab Chandra Sen did not accept that argument. Therefore, he started his own Brahmo Samaj, called as Brahmo Samaj of India. He had a lot of followers. Okay, add one point there. Played a prominent role in spread of Brahmoism outside Bengal. Made Brahmoism popular outside Bengal. Underline the word social activism. In bracket, write down action. Social activism, in bracket, write down the word action. He believed in action. Okay. He wanted to bring the reforms through action, activities, not by just speeches. And Kuch Bihar controversy was that he got his 9-year-old daughter married to the Prince of Kuch Bihar. He was a lifelong crusader against child marriage, but he got his own daughter married at the age of 9 years. So that is called as Kuch Bihar controversy. That showcases his internal contradictions. Whatever he preached and whatever he did were two different things. Therefore, that was the fall of his popularity, and most of his followers, they formed something called as Sadharan Brahmo Samaj. So now we saw three different versions of Brahmo Samaj. One is Brahmo Samaj, started by Raja Ram Mohan Roy, later led by Debendranath Tagore. Brahmo Samaj that got split into Brahmo Samaj of India, led by Keshab Chandra Sen. And later, Brahmo Samaj of India got further divided into Sadharan Brahmo Samaj after Kuch Bihar controversy. And the Sadharan Brahmo Samaj was led by Anand Mohan Bose. Anand Mohan Bose. Anand Mohan Bose again is a multifaceted personality. He is a reformer as well as a nationalist. See, I am using the word nationalist now. Reformer plus nationalist. Why I am calling him nationalist, you will understand in a while. Okay. So now, till now we talked about reformist agenda. The reformers who were also with politics at that time. Now, we'll look at the conservative angle. See, not everybody in India supported the reforms. Even the educated ones. So write a note to yourself. Not all educated Indians supported the socio-religious reforms. Not all educated Indians supported the socio-religious reforms. For example, Raja Radhakant Dev. Raja Radhakant Dev. Okay. So he started one organization called as Dharma Sabha in 1830. And the main agenda of Dharma Sabha was to oppose the reforms. Legislative coercion. He also thought any changes that should happen in the society, it should come from within, not through imposition of laws by the British. Understood? So he also organized signature campaign against sati, against widow remarriage, against abolition of sati, against widow remarriage act. He organized signature campaigns against abolition of sati and also against widow remarriage act. He told there is no need of laws for all these things. Any change that is required, will bring it within the society. See, now you are seeing three different types of personalities. Raja Ram Mohan Roy believed in the state support, laws to give effect to social reforms, abolition of sati. Debendranath Tagore, who did not believe in laws being used to propagate the social reforms. He thought it will not have much effect, it should come from it internally. And Radhakant Dev is opposing the laws. See, Debendranath Tagore did not oppose the laws, but Radhakant Dev is opposing the laws. Understood? So UPSC, let's say they will give a question like this. Consider the following statements. Consider the following statements. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a universal humanist, believed in reason and monotheism. He advocated reforms. Supported by state. He advocated reforms supported by state. Second statement, Debendranath Tagore also was a reformer, believed in Upanishadic monotheism. He believed in internal purification and did not favor legal coercion. Legal coercion means using laws to impose certain things on you. Lastly, Raja Radhakant Dev opposed these religious reforms and he was against legal coercion. He was against the legal coercion. Therefore, he organized mass signature campaigns against abolition of sati and widow remarriage. So, which of the following statements are correct? Correct statements. Statement 1, right or wrong? ಹೇಳ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಇವಾಗ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಇದೆ ತಾನೆ, ನಾನು ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತರೆಗೂ ಗಂಟ್ಲು ಹರ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ತಾನೆ, ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ತಾನೆ. ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ 2 ಪಕ್ಕನಾ? ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ 3 trapped. He did not oppose religious reforms. He supported reforms, but he was against the British interference. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತೇನಪ್ಪ? Reforms should come from within, not imposed through laws. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತೇನಪ್ಪ? ಇದನ್ನೇ ಕಣೋ ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತರೆಗೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು. ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ಎಕ್ಸಾಮಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದಿದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೇಜಾರಾಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ, ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ವೆರಿ ಕನ್ವಿನ್ಸಿಂಗ್, always pay attention to the key terminologies. Okay. So here he did not oppose the reforms. What did he do? He was against the legal intervention or the legal coercion or the state interference. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತೇನಪ್ಪ? So remember this. And in the handout, read below Raja Radhakant Dev. He was a Hindu conservative constitutionalist, opposed state imposed social reforms. He opposed state imposed social reforms, not against the reforms as a whole. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತೇನಪ್ಪ? He was not against the idea of reforms, rather he was against the reforms imposed by the government through laws. Okay, so this is how they will trap you, then this is how you can be easily pushed to commit some mistakes. Despite knowing the concept, you committed a mistake. ಇಷ್ಟೊತ್ತರೆಗೂ ಇದನ್ನೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು. So now again, he was a multifaceted personality. He was having the political angle also, not nationalist angle, political angle. I'll show that to you. Okay. Now there were some transitional political organizations. See, firstly we discussed about reformist political organizations. Okay, reformist. Later we talked about conservative stream, and now we are talking about transitional. I'll explain the meaning of all these things. So ಇದನ್ನ ಸೋಶಿಯೋ ರಿಲಿಜಿಯಸ್ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಹಾಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡು, ನಿಂಗೆ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಬೇಡ. ಓಕೆನಮ್ಮ? Now, reformist means who wanted changes in the society. Conservative means who wanted to maintain the status quo. Whatever is there, let it be there. And transitional means before we open, before we do something big, there will be some transition. So what were these transitional organizations? Bengal British India Society, George Thompson, William Adams. So now they wanted to help Indians to gain the reforms. Some sympathetic Britishers, they wanted to help Indians to gain the reforms. Whether it is education or reduction in taxation or representation, they wanted to help Indians. Therefore, they established one organization called as Bengal British India Society. And later, this got merged with Zamindari Association, and finally, British Indian Association was formed. British Indian Association. Now we will get into this chronology. See, remember this? Atmia Sabha. Okay? And after this, during times of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, it was called as Brahmo Sabha. After his death, it came to be known as Brahmo Samaj. Okay? And after this, you all know Banga Bhasha Prakashika Sabha. This is the first organization which we need to understand. And I gave you about the founders also. They were all the friends of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, associates of Raja Ram Mohan Roy in some or the other capacity. Three founders, name I gave you, no? Debendranath Tagore, Gauri Shankar Bhattacharya, Prasanna Kumar Thakur. They were all the associates of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So either associated with this or with this, they were the friends of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, friends or followers. Okay. And after that, there will be Zamindari Association, or also called as Landholders Society, 1838. 1838. Okay. And now, this was a organization. Again, Debendranath Tagore was a personality common to both these organizations. And there was one more very important person called as Raja Radhakant Dev. He was associated with Zamindari Association. And as name itself says, it was there to protect the interests of whom? Common Indians or Zamindars? Zamindars. So this organization was more leaned towards protecting the class interests of Zamindars. And after Zamindari Association, we can see the formation of Bengal British India Society, 1843. 1843. And here, as I told you, there were sympathetic Britishers who wanted to help Indians to gain reforms like representation, education, etc. And along with these Britishers, there was one Indian, Raja Radhakant Dev. Okay? And finally, both these organizations got merged together. Both these organizations got merged together. And what was the organization that was formed? British Indian Association. Which year? 1851. Okay. So now, after British Indian Association, who are the members? The same members will be there, but one new member will be there. His name is Debendranath Tagore. Debendranath Tagore. Tatvabodhini Sabha, Brahmo Samaj. So now he also came into politics. He also came into politics. Okay. So now, after British Indian Association, 1851, you can see London India Society. As the name itself says, Indians in London, they formed one group. They wanted to build pressure on the British. You can say this was a Indian lobby in London demanding reforms in India, mainly by the Indian students who are studying in London. Okay, Dadabhai Nauroji, Firoz Shah Mehta, they were all the members of this organization. And later, this organization influenced the formation of East India Association. 1866, who was the founder? Dadabhai Nauroji. Dadabhai Nauroji. Okay, and Dadabhai Nauroji is very important, and the main objective of this organization was to spread awareness about Indian conditions in England and seek reforms in India. Okay, this is one thing. And followed by this, we have one more very important organization, Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, established by M.G. Ranade, V.S. Siplankar, Gopal Ganesh Agarkar, and they wanted this organization to act as a bridge between British and masses, British and the Indian masses. Now, I want you to say it with me till we memorize this. Going forward, there should be no confusion. So, let it feel like a primary school class. Don't worry, say it with me. Okay? So, Atmia Sabha, established by whom? Rajaram Mohan Roy. So, what was the purpose? Is it an open group or a public forum? It was a private forum. It was neither an open group nor a public forum. It was a private group. Me and my friends, closed group, Atmiya Sabha, Not everybody can be my close friends. So Atmia Sabha. Okay. So what they used to discuss? Both politics plus reforms, social religious reforms. So it was there. And followed by that, this got bigger in the form of Brahmo Sabha. And after the death of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Brahmo Sabha became Brahmo Samaj. So what did they advocate? First point, religious universalism. Brahmoism means Brahmanda. Brahmoism means universal religion. Religious universalism. Monotheism and rationalism. Religious universalism, monotheism, rationalism. Religious universalism, monotheism, rationalism. Understood? Remember this. These were the three important things advocated by Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Brahmo Samaj. So after the death of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who became its leader? Debendranath Tagore. What was the organization that was founded by him earlier? Tattvabodhini Sabha. So what Tattva it used to propagate? Monotheism. Monotheism. Did he support legal coercion? No. Understood? He was not supportive of legal coercion. What did he believe? Internal purification. Transformation of mind, hand, heart. Okay? Shall we go to it again? Atmiya Sabha. Who founded it? Public forum? Private forum. What did they discuss? Politics plus reforms. Okay? Later, Brahmo Sabha. What were the three important ideals with this? Universal religion, rationalism, monotheism. Universal religion, rationalism, monotheism. And did Rajaram Mohan Roy believe in state intervention? Yes. Abolition of Sati Act. Who brought the abolition of Sati? William Bentinck. Okay? And then, who started leading Brahmo Sabha? Debendranath Tagore. What was the organization founded by him? Tattvabodhini Sabha. What was the Tattva that was propagated by him? Monotheism. Inspired by Upanishads. What is another name of Upanishads? Vedanta. Veda Allah, Vedanta. Vedanta. Okay? Ancient medieval agilva? Okay? Vedanta. Did he support the legal coercion? No. What did he believe in? Internal purification. And he started leading Brahmo Samaj after 1840s. Okay? So, which was the first political organization in India? Bangabhasha Prakashika Sabha. Which year? 1836. What is the objective? What is the objective? Name itself says. Read the name properly. Bangabhasha. What is the language of, what is the Bhasha of Bengal? Bengali. Prakashika means spread. So what is the objective? Spread the education and literature in which language? Bengali language. Understood? So all these founders, they had one common link. What was it? They were the associates of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay? Who were the three founders? Dwarkanath Tagore, Prasanna Kumar Thakur, and Gauri Shankar Bhattacharya. And after this organization, which was the organization that was formed? Zamindari Association or Landholders Society. Landholders Society. Who was the important founder? Raja Radhakant Deb and also Dwarkanath Tagore. Dwarkanath Tagore is associated with both. Is common to both. That is the reason. Two arrows. Okay? So this organization, did it focus on the public interest? Yes or no? What is the name? What does the name indicate? Zamindari Association. So they will focus on whose interest? Zamindar's interest. Is Zamindar's interest public interest? No. It is class interest. Their class, Zamindars, rich people, they should benefit. So what will this organization demand? Does it demand good for all public? Does it demand social reforms? What will it demand? Protection of Zamindars. Understood? How can you protect and enrich Zamindars? by spreading zamindari system into different areas. Expansion of zamindari system in different areas. That is what they demanded. Name itself says. Name itself says. And then after that, what was the organization that was established? Bengal British India Society. Founded by whom? George Thompson and William Adams. George Thompson and William Adams. What did they say? What was their objective? To support Indians to gain reforms. Educational, political. Support Indians to gain reforms. Educational and politicals. They were sympathetic towards India. They wanted to help Indians to gain more reforms and to gain more representation. So they decided to help Indians. They started this organization. Later what happened? Both these organizations got merged. Merged into British Indian Association. Which year? 1851. So who was the president of this association? Raja Radhakant Dev. He was the president of this association. Others were there. John Thompson was also there. William Adams was also there. Debendranath Tagore was also there. But who was the president? Raja Radhakant Dev. So what was his vision with regard to social reforms? Did he support the reforms? He supported the reforms. Did he support the legal intervention? No. Just remember that. Okay. So what was the organization established by him? Dharma Sabha. Dharma Sabha, 1830. So if the statement says he organized signature campaign against abolition of sati and against widow remarriage act, is it right or wrong? Right. He organized signature campaign against abolition of sati. He organized signature campaign against widow remarriage act. So he was against this legal interventions into socio-religious reforms. Remember this. Raja Radhakant Dev. You can consider him as opponent of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Two Rajas. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Raja Radhakant Dev. One Raja advocating reforms, believing in state support to the reforms. Another Raja opposing the state intervention. One Raja establishing Brahmo Sabha, another Raja establishing Dharma Sabha. Understood? He wanted to protect the Dharma, he was conservationist. He wanted to reform the Dharma, he was reformist. Remember, two Rajas. Who are the two Rajas opposite to each other? Raja Ram Mohan Roy and also Raja Radhakant Dev. What was the organization established by Raja Ram Mohan Roy? Atmia Sabha, leave it. Brahmo Sabha. Raja Radhakant Dev, Dharma Sabha. Raja Ram Mohan Roy advocated state support to reforms. Raja Radhakant Dev opposed. Okay. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy forced British to abolish what? Sati. Raja Radhakant Dev signature campaign against the abolition of sati. So two opposite Rajas. You need to remember. One working for reform, another working for status quo. Conservationist. Okay. So you take back the laws. We don't want you to interfere, man. You take back the law. Any change required, we'll bring. I am educated. We can bring. Understood? You shouldn't interfere. There are loopholes. In every religion, there are loopholes. That doesn't give you, a foreigner, a right to interfere in my religion. Do you practice Hinduism? No. You practice Christianity. What do you know about my religion? How dare you interfere? Respectfully asking them, sir, please, our internal matter we will take care. That's all. Fine. And then British Indian Association, again, they demanded two important things: educational reforms, political reforms. Under political reforms, what did they demand? More representation for Indians in legislature, in civil services, all these things. Okay? Two important reforms they demanded. Fine. And then after that, London India Society. We'll go out of India for a while. London India Society, established by Indian students studying in London. What was their agenda? To support, to pressurize the British to bring reforms in India. It was act as a lobbying. Okay, and later it got established into East India Association. Who was the founder? Dadabhai Nauroji. Okay, so again, what was the agenda? Awareness about Indians for British parliamentarians as well as British public. This is the situation. Please help us to get reforms. Please do not take away our wealth. Please don't loot us. Please give us representation. Please give us civil liberties. Please give us education. Like that, he was creating awareness and demanding the changes or reforms in the British administration. And next one, we'll come back to India. Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Okay. So some sources say 1867, some sources say 1870. We'll broadly agree upon 1870. Okay. See, UPSC, given the nature of the questions asked earlier, you already know about M.G. Ranade, but you might be lacking information about other two founders. So what UPSC will give? They'll give you questions which consider the following personalities: M.G. Ranade, Gopal Ganesh, Agarkar, Vishnu Shastri, Chiplankar, and K.T. Telang. Okay. So who among them? Gopal Krishna, Gokhale. Who among them are the founders of Pune Sarvajanik Sabha? They'll ask you questions like this. They have asked questions like this with regard to Madras Mahajan Sabha also. Okay, Madras Mahajan Sabha, they have asked the question. So there are three founders for that organization also. They have given 4 or 5 names and asked you to find out or identify the right 3 founders. Okay, so now Madras Mahajan Sabha, let me give you the question only. So among them you have to identify who are the correct founders. Fine. So now Veereshalingam, Pantulu, Veera Raghavacharya, P. Anandacharlu, Subramanian Iyer, and P. Rangayya Naidu. This is one extra option that I am creating. Out of the first 4, who are the founders? They can ask you this. And similarly, even for, this is for Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. This is a possibility of a question. And even for Bombay Presidency Association, there are 3 founders. There are 3 founders. One is Firoz Shah Mehta, Kashinath Telang, Syed Badruddin, Tayabji, Gopal Krishna, Gokhale, M.G. Ranade. Let's start from Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Who are the founders? M.G. Ranade. Okay, you are very sure. Agarkar. Men's Cricket Selection Committee. Ajit Agarkar. Here, Gopal Ganesh Agarkar. Okay. And then Vishnu Shastri Chiplankar. K.T. Telang? No. Gopal Krishna Gokhale? Are you sure? Gokhale was the disciple of M.G. Ranade. And Gandhi was the disciple of Gokhale. Understood? So now tell me. In the previous question, UPSC will give you something like this. So that will create a lot of respect in your minds about Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Next question, they will ask this. So you are forced to think that Gopal Krishna Gokhale was a very dominant, influential person in that region. Now tell me whether this is right or wrong. In class, it is easy to say, but in exam, difficult to mark. Okay. So with regard to this, Bombay Presidency Association, Firoz Shah Mehta, K.T. Telang, Syed Badruddin Taib ji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. No. M.G. Ranade. This, many of you are not sure. Okay. Now Madras Mahajan Sabha, 1884, 1885, 1870. Madras Mahajan Sabha. First four options, that was given in UPSC PYQ only. Fifth option I created, because there is a link to it. Now, first one, Veeresalingam Pantulu. Okay, very good. And then, Veera Raghavacharya, P. Anandacharlu, Subramanian Iyer. No. Yes. No. Okay. There is confusion with Subbu. Okay. Rangaya Naidu. No. Yes. Rangaya Naidu, president. A member act the president hengo aitare. He was not associated with Madras Mahajan Sabha, Rangaya Naidu. He was associated with Madras Native Association, not Madras Mahajan Sabha. Understood? So people will get confused. They can go wrong. Therefore, I purposefully gave this. When Dadabhai Naoroji established East Indian Association, no? East India Association had two branches in India. One is Bombay Native Association, another one is Madras Native Association. Rangaya Naidu associated with Madras Native Association, not Madras Mahajan Sabha. Okay? And say, here the first statement itself is wrong. Veeresalingam Pantulu was not the member of Madras Mahajan Sabha. Understood? Veera Raghavacharya was there. Subramanian Iyer was there. Subramanian Iyer, founder of Hindu newspaper. Hindu and Swadesha Mitran. Swadesh Mitran Tamil, Hindu, English. And P. Anandacharlu. These three were there. First and last, they were not there. Okay? They were not there. So now we will try to memorize. We will try to memorize. And before going into all these things, I want to complete the slide. Okay? So we have completed till Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. The intent was to act as a bridge between the masses and the British. Whatever the problems of the masses, we will understand and convey it to British through prayers, petitions, all these things. Okay. And later, Indian League established by Sisir Kumar Ghosh. And Sisir Kumar Ghosh, he was also the editor of Amrit Bazar Patrika. He was also the editor of Amrit Bazar Patrika. So, I'll tell you about it. There are two more things which I want to discuss about Amrit Bazar Patrika, I'll tell you. But for now, we'll try to recall everything. Fine. So now, which was the first political organization? Bangabhasha Prakashika Sabha. Which year? 1836. Founders? Debendranath Tagore, Gauri Shankar Bhattacharya and Prasanna Kumar Thakur. After that, Zamindari Association. Zamindari Association or landlords, landholders society. Founders Raja Radhakant Deb and Dwarkanath Tagore. Okay. So which year? 1838. Okay. And what was the objective of that organization? To protect the interests of zamindars, spread the zamindari system in different areas. And after that, Bengal British India Society. Founders, two Britishers, George Thompson, William Adams. What did they try to do? They advocated reforms for Indians. Representation plus liberties. Okay. And after that, these two organizations got merged and formed which organization? British Indian Association. Who are the founders? Raja Radhakant Deb, Debendranath Tagore, William Adams, George Thompson. Okay. Who was the first president? Raja Radhakant Deb. What were the two objectives of this organization? Representation plus education. Education plus representation. Okay. And after this, which was the next organization? London India Society. What was the main purpose? Lobbying. London lobby. First two letters same. London lobby. Where did they lobby? In London. Who were they? Indian students. They did lobby for what? Reforms for India. Reforms for India. And after that, East India Association. Who was the founder? Dadabhai Naoroji. What was the objective? To educate the British about India's situation and seek their support for reforms in India. Educate British about Indian situation. East India, educate. Educate whom? British. And after that, which organization? Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Founders? Ranade, V.S. Chiplankar, Gopal Ganesh Agarkar. Okay. You remember the coach of, selector committee chief? Ajit Agarkar. So, Agarkar, manage. Okay. What was the main objective? To act as a bridge between British and the Indian masses. And after that, Indian League, 1875. Founder, Sisir Kumar Ghosh. What was the newspaper he edited? Amrit Bazar Patrika. So, this Amrit Bazar Patrika, there are two important details. Write down. And this, if you want, you can take a picture of it. Later, I want you to recall this and memorize this. Okay. Shall we proceed? So Amrit Bazar Patrika, it became an English newspaper overnight. It was a Bengali newspaper. It became English newspaper overnight against Vernacular Press Act. Right down. Amrit Bazar Patrika, Bengali newspaper, became English overnight. Was a Bengali newspaper which became English newspaper overnight. Okay. Done. So now, what was Vernacular Press Act? Vernacular Press Act. Hey, except English, okay, vernacular means except English, fine. What was the features of this act? Write down. See, one thing, pre-publication censor. Remember, it is like before releasing the movies only they'll get it censored, no? So like that, this is pre-publication censorship. And any non-compliance will result in what? Cancellation of license, fines or penalties. Cancellation of license, fines or penalties. And it was not applicable to English newspapers. It was not applicable to English newspapers. Since it was not applied to English newspaper, it means English newspaper need not have to undergo censorship. So what did Amrit Bazar Patrika do? It was a Bengali newspaper, overnight it became a English newspaper, so that they don't have to undergo censorship. Okay, so this is something which they did. And Amrit Bazar Patrika, they also had a stance with regard to Pabna agitation. Pabna agitation. It was a farmers' movement happening in Bengal region against zamindari exploitation. Okay, Pabna agitation. Okay, so now usually see there was something called as Deccan Revolt, especially in 1875, and the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, they supported the farmers during this Deccan Revolt. Pune Sarvajanik Sabha supported the farmers during the Deccan Revolt. And again, in Deccan, the farmers revolted against the exploitation by money lenders. Money lenders were giving them loans and taking away their lands. Okay? And when farmers revolted, Pune Sarvajanik Sabha stood with the farmers. They supported the farmers. And now, Amrit Bazar Patrika. Amrit Bazar Patrika. The farmers are protesting against zamindari exploitation. What Amrit Bazar Patrika will do? Support or oppose? They supported. They supported farmers during Pabna agitation. But there was one more newspaper called as Hindu Patriot. Hindu Patriot. They opposed Pabna agitation. UPSC can interchange the names. Instead of Amrit Bazar Patrika, they can use the name Hindu Patriot. Okay. Amrit Bazar Patrika supported Pabna agitation, whereas the Hindu Patriot opposed it. Okay. If they interchange the name, your answer is gone. So you should be careful. Fine. And now, after Indian League, I want you to remember Indian Association. Indian Association 1876. Indian Association 1876. Indian Association 1876. Who are the founders? 150th anniversary. 1876, 2026. 150. Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose. Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose. (1876). See, this organization and Surendranath Banerjee will assume a lot of importance for this prelims. 150. Because people are more focusing upon Dadabhai Naoroji. And sometimes, when everybody knows something, UPSC is not going to ask that. Understood? They'll ask the lesser known things. So this is something which deserves little more importance. Surendranath Banerjee. So write down. See, it is already there in the handout, I think. Surendranath Banerjee. So I'll write it out. I'll try to explain. Just listen to me. Just follow along. Okay. Surendranath Banerjee. He tried to enter into ICS twice, but both the time he was removed from service by British. 1869, 1871. Twice he tried to enter into ICS. And later, he was a moderate constitutional nationalist. What is constitutional nationalist? What is constitutional methods? Prayer, petition and protest. Constitutionalism means prayer, petition and protest. Whatever methods that are permitted in the constitution. Prayer, petition and protest. So he went by those methods. And he was a moderate at heart. Moderate constitutional nationalist. Okay. That is one thing. And then he advocated political education. And he wanted to establish, he was the first major person to come up with the idea of All India Organization. Earlier, see, there was Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, there was Bangabhasha Prakashika Sabha, there was the Bengal British India Society, like that. Small organization, Bombay Native Association, Madras Native Association, etc. There was no All India organizations in India. So he was the first important leader to come and put forward the idea of All India organizations. And he also organized 2 national conferences, 1883 to 1885. Okay. And he also organized the collection of National Fund. National Fund point is not there, you can include it. Okay. And then he presided INC twice. He presided INC twice, 1895 and 1902. Write down. 1895 and 1902. 1895 and 1902. Okay. And he merged his Indian Association into INC in 1886, 1886. He merged Indian Association into INC in 1886. And for more than 30 years, he remained with INC. More than 30 years, he remained with INC. He used to publish an English newspaper called as Bengali. Name is Bengali. but it was a English newspaper. That is the twist in the story. Bengali was a Bengali newspaper andre ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲೇ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಬಿಡುಗರು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. Understood? Name is Bengali, but it was a English newspaper. Okay, he published an English newspaper called as Bengali to provide political education to the masses, and he also criticized the maladministration of British in this newspaper. Okay, and he was against the mass politics advocated by Gandhi. Therefore, in 1919, he left INC and formed Liberals Federation of India. Liberals Party or Liberals Federation of India. 1919, he left INC and formed his own organization. Formed Liberals Federation of India. Okay, so this Liberals Party, no, it contested the election of 1920 as well as 1923. Contested elections of 1920 as well as 1923. 1920 elections, INC boycotted. INC started NCM, non-cooperation movement. So we boycotted the elections. But Liberal Party, they contested the elections. 1923 also they contested the elections. Understood? 1923 INC also contested. Swarajist. And this Liberals Party, they made alliance, coalition with Swarajist and formed the government. Understood? They helped Swarajist in forming Nationalist Front. They got Vittalbhai Patel elected as the chairperson of Central Legislative Assembly, no? It was with the help of Liberals only. Swarajist plus Liberals. Together they did the magic. Vittalbhai Patel, President of Central Legislative Assembly. Okay? So remember this, Liberals. Less known things, more important. Okay? And also write down this. 1901 Calcutta session. 125 years. 1901 Calcutta session. Presided by D.E. Vacha. D.E. Vacha. Deen Shah Edulji Vacha. He was a Parsi person, a very good friend of Dadabhai Nauroji, founding member of INC. D.E. Vacha, founding member of INC. And during this session, why this session is important? Write down. Gandhi met with Gokhale, Tilak. Gandhi met with Gokhale and Tilak during this session. "125 years to the first meeting of Gandhi and Tilak." See, this might not be asked, but better to be informed rather than to regret later. Okay. So now I'll write down all the organizations. You just follow along with me. Bangabhasha Prakashika Sabha. Which year? 1836. Founders? Eldro Debendranath Dwarkanath Tagore, P.K. Thakur, Gauri Shankar Bhattacharya. After that, Zamindari Association or Landholders Society. Okay. So again, who was the founder? Dwarkanath Tagore plus Radhakant Deb. So 1838. Followed by Bengal British India Society. 1843. George Thomson, William Adams. Sympathetic approach to Indians, towards Indians, advocated more education and representation for Indians. Both these organizations got merged and formed what? British Indian Association. (1851). Who was the first president? Radhakant Dev. And who was another prominent member? Debendranath Tagore. Okay. And after this, we'll enter into some external agencies. London, India Society. And after that, East India Association. 1866. Dadabhai Naoroji educate the British public and parliamentarians about Indian situation. Seek their support for our reforms. Okay. And then Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Okay. So, bridge between Indian masters and British. They wanted to act as a bridge between Indians and British. This was their agenda. Okay. So, Ranade, Agarkar, Shastri. Sarvajanik Sabha, SAR. Remember like this. Okay. So, and after this, Indian League. Shishir Kumar Ghosh. Shishir Kumar Ghosh. Okay. So, what was the newspaper he published? Amrit Bazar Patrika. So, what were the two important things about this newspaper? Bengali newspaper overnight became English. Supported Pabna agitation. Which newspaper opposed it? Hindu Patriot. Remember? Okay. So, after this, we have got an all India organization, that is Indian Association, celebrating 150th anniversary. So, who are the two important founders? Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose. Okay. And Surendranath Banerjee is very important from multiple perspectives. One, he was an ICS officer. Okay. And in 1886, he merged this organization with INC. Later he formed Indian Liberals Federation or Liberals Party. And he also published this newspaper, Bengali newspaper. But it was in English English language. Okay. And Anand Mohan Bose, as I have already told you, Sadharan Brahmo Samaj. And he was also the president of INC once. Okay. I think in 1890 he served as the president of INC. It is incomplete. Wait. Innu Barijin. Okay. And then after Indian Association, we'll take care of Madras Mahajan Sabha. Madras Mahajan Sabha. See, in Madras, who is the most famous god in Madras province? Subramanya. Murugan. Remember? So, Subramanian Iyer. Why Subramanya is very famous? At the age of, from mythological perspective, he was a great warrior. At the age of 6, he defeated a great demon called as Tarakasura. So, he was Veera. Understood? And by defeating the demon, he helped Indra and such other gods to regain their happiness. Because this Tarakasura, he was such a great demon that He had removed all the gods from the positions. He had made most of the gods as the watchmen to his palace. And some gods, like Indra, he made Indra to collect horse dung. ಕುದುರೆ ಲಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಗಣಿ ಬಾಚಕ್ಕೆ ಕಂಡಿದ್ದ ಇಂದ್ರನ. ದೇವತೆಗಳ ರಾಜ, king of all the gods, he was made to collect horse dung. So, by conquering and defeating Tarakasura, what did he help? He regained the gods to get happiness. So, Subramanya, he was a great warrior who helped gods to regain their happiness. Understood? And Subramanya Iyer founded which newspapers? He belonged to which religion? Hinduism. Saku. Subramanya is a god belonging to which religion, man? Hinduism. Okay? And what? He was a member, not the founder. Man, we are talking about founders. There will be hundreds of members in the organization. How can you remember all of them? We are not, see, the idea is not to discuss about the achievements, contributions, members and presidents of Madras Mahajan Sabha. We are talking about only the foundation. Understood? So Rangainadu was earlier associated with Madras Native Association. Later went on to become the president of this also. But he was not the founder. Okay? The status of founder cannot be given to someone who is not. So who started this organization? 3 people. Lot of people joined them later. But they cannot be given the status of founders. Understood? Who started INC? Later Gandhi also joined, Tilak also joined. Do you give them the status of founders? Understood? Madan Mohan Malviya was the president of INC twice. Chacha was the president of INC thrice. Do you give them the status of founder also? Understood? That is the difference. Okay? And then, which year it was formed? 1884. Again, what was the objective? To spread the political education of the masses in the Madras region and to raise the regional grievances. Whatever the problems of the regional people were there, they wanted to educate the British about it and get the solutions to their problems. And after this, what was another organization? Bombay Presidency Association. 1885. 1885. It was formed before INC only. Okay. Who are the 3 important founders? Firoz Shah Mehta. Okay. KT Telang. KT Telang and Syed Badruddin Tayyabji. Tayyabji was the first Muslim to preside the INC. 1887 Madras session. Okay. So, see, later Dadabhai Naoroji was also the member of this organization, but he cannot be considered as a founder. These are the only 3 founders. And after this, we can see INC. We can see INC. And first session of INC was hosted by them. First session of INC was hosted by Bombay Presidency Association. They gave the place for the meeting of INC. They organized it. Okay. Later INC became very big, All India organization. But who hosted the first session of INC? Bombay Presidency Association. And after this, we get to see a lot of organizations. But do you remember about a person called as M.N. Roy? He is the communist, fine. And then father of separate electorate. Le M.N. Roy kono minto alla. He was the founder of CPI. That is the biggest trap. He is not the founder of Communist Party of India. He was the first one to demand setting up of Constituent Assembly for India. He talked about written constitution, but he was not the founder of CPI. He was not the founder of CPI. Understood? He was a Marxist. He was a member of Comintern. There, he talked against colonial exploitation. Later, he adopted a different approach called as radical humanism. He came to a point that human life is greater than all governments or philosophies or ideologies. To bring reforms, we need to be radical. But he did not stick to one ideology. He did not remain a Marxist throughout his life. He adopted with times. These are three different things. Okay? He was not the founder of Communist Party of India. That is the biggest trap which UPSC can set for you. Because the moment I say M.N. Roy, you say he is the founder of CPI. But he was not the founder. Okay? And secondly, as I told you, he demanded as the first among the Indian nationalists to demand Constituent Assembly for India. Okay, we will draft our own constitution. You don't have to do it. So remember this. And I'll give you 2 assignments. Justice Party of Madras and Hindu Mahasabha. Find out about this. Justice Party of Madras and Hindu Mahasabha. It is your responsibility to find out. SCA Dange, there are 3 different persons. Okay? He was associated with CPI, but he is not the founder. Not in India. Communist Party of India. Yeah, I am talking about Communist Party of India established in 1924. He is not the founder. There is a difference. There is a difference. Okay? He was a communist. He was advocating Marxism. But he did not form Communist Party of India in 1925. He did not found it. Understood? He was not the founder. Remember that. So, leading the formation of Communist Party of India in Tashkent and forming the Communist Party of India in India, they are 2 different things. Understood? That is the reason I told this is a trap. And be aware of this trap. Okay? So now, I will tell you about 2 important viceroys. Knowing about them is very important. And before proceeding to that, we will try to solve this questions. So, here is Zoom. Okay, 30 seconds time. Read this question. With reference to Rajaram Mohan Roy, Miratul Akbar was a Persian newspaper closed down by him voluntarily. Samvad Kaumadi was primarily aimed at British officials. It means it was a political critic. He supported state intervention in social reforms. Which of them are correct? All gone. I told Samvad Kaumudi to promote social reforms, and Brahminical magazine was to tell Britishers this is good, this is bad, you don't interfere in our area. So second point, despite telling numerous times, you got it wrong. One gone. And then okay. Which of the following organizations was founded to defend Orthodox Hindu religious practices against colonial social legislations? Dharma Sabha. Who was the founder? Raja Radhakant Dev. Read the question wordings correctly. Defend Hindu religious practices against colonial social legislation. Not against reforms. Against legislations. Against foreign interference. Understood? That is the idea. And now, read the third question. Raja Radhakant Dev is best described as social reformer opposing caste discrimination, nationalist demanding self-government. Back then there was no such idea. Scratch it off. Conservative constitutionalist opposing state-led reform. Revolutionary? No. You know him. So, he is the only probable thing. He was opposing the state-led reform. And lastly, which of the following best explains why UPSC tests Raja Radhakant Dev? This is my question. Fine. So, founded INC, led peasant movements. He breaks the reformist nationalist stereotype. Because we assume that all reformists were nationalist. He was not a reformist, he was a conservationist, but still he was a nationalist. British Indian Association, who was the president? British Indian Association, Raja Radhakant Dev. He was a nationalist. But was he reformist? No. He was conservationist. He was an orthodox person. Understood? So, he is a different genre. As I told you, he is against the ideas advocated by Rajaram Mohan Roy. He is not a reformist. He is a conservationist, but still he is a nationalist. Because we go by the idea that all reformists are nationalist. That is not the case. For example, Rajaram Mohan Roy. Sorry, Raja Radhakant Dev. So now, okay. ಏನಪ್ಪ ಟೂಲ್ಸ್ ಹೆಂಗೋ ಹೈಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಇದು ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆಯೋ ರಾಂಗ್ ಮಾರ್ಕು ತರ ಇಲ್ಲ ನನ್ಗಿಂತ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತಿದ್ದು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಸೊ ಮ್ಯಾಚ್ ದ ಫಾಲೋಯಿಂಗ್ ತತ್ವಬೋಧಿನಿ ಸಭಾ ದೇವೇಂದ್ರನಾಥ್ ಠಾಗೂರ್ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮೋ ಸಮಾಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ರಾಜಾರಾಮ್ ಮೋಹನ್ ರಾಯ್ and Dharma Sabha, Raja Radhakant Dev. How many of them are correct? Who thought all? ಎತ್ತರೋ ಕೈ ಇಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೇ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ರಾಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಎತ್ತರೋ ಕೈ ಯಾರು ಆಲ್ ಅಂದಿದ್ದು 1 and 3 ಕೇಶಬ್ ಚಂದ್ರ ಸೇನ್ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮೋ ಸಮಾಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಗಂಟ್ಲರ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಓಕೆ ಕೇಶಬ್ ಚಂದ್ರ ಸೇನ್ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮೋ ಸಮಾಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ Rajaram Mohan Roy, Brahmo Sabha, not even Brahmo Samaj. After his death, Sabha became Samaj. It became open for everyone. Earlier it was a closed group. Sabha, our family. Namanel Titi Aitan, rural Batareno. Closed group. Only those who have invite can come and attend. Artha aitenappa? Samaj means open to all. Anybody can come. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಸೊ ಓನ್ಲಿ 1 and 3 ಆರ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಈಗ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರೇನೋ ಇಲ್ವಾ ಎಥಿಕಲ್ ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು ಏಯ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಂದಾನೆ ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು ಆಯ್ತು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ರಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಕೊಂಡ್ರು ಹೇಳೋದಿದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಆನ್ಸರೇ ಬೇಕಾರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರೇ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡ್ಲಾ ಈಸ್ ದಟ್ ದ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ ಬಿ ಹಾನೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಸಿಗ್ನಿಫಿಕೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದೇವೇಂದ್ರನಾಥ್ ಠಾಗೂರ್ ಇನ್ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಲೈಸ್ ಇನ್ radical social activism. Who was the radical social activist? Keshab Chandra Sen. Okay, he was into action, he was into activity, not Debendranath Tagore. What did Debendranath Tagore advocate? inner purification or transformation. Okay. Legislative reform through petitions? No. Organizational consolidation and spiritual reform. Inner transformation, spiritual reform. Correct. Popularization of revolutionary nationalism? Not at all linked. So the schism, what is schism? Read the question. The schism in the Brahmo Samaj in 1866 was mainly due to differences over support to colonial rule, role of English education, degree and method of social reform, economic critique of British policies. What is schism? Difference. Schism means difference, crisis. Okay. So 1866, as I told you, Debendranath Tagore versus Keshab Chandra Sen. Brahmo Samaj of India was formed. Okay. And then ಇದು ಕೇಳ್ರು Coach Bihar marriage episode, okay, that undermined the legacy of Keshab Chandra Sen because there were internal contradictions between what he preached and what he followed. And then British Indian Association primarily represented what? Elite Indian opinion through petitions. Because earlier, as I told you, they were all constitutionalist. Prayer, petition, protest. Till you meet extremist, approach is same. Constitutionalist approach. Prayer, petition and protest. That is going to be their approach. And they don't even have the courage to protest. Prayer and petition, mainly their agenda. Okay. And which among the following organizations is correctly matched with its founders? Indian Association, Dadabhai Nauroji. Indian Association, Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose. Which year? 18, 75, 76, 77. 76. Deccan Sabha. Which year? Deccan Sabha. I did not even discuss. ಈಗ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಕಣೋ, ಈಗ ಹೇಳುದ ಡೆಕ್ಕನ್ ಸಭಾ ಅಂತ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ನಾನು. ಡೆಕ್ಕನ್ ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಕಣೋ. ಲೋ ಅಪ್ಪ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡೆಕ್ಕನ್ ಡೆಕ್ಕನ್ ಮ್ಯಾಚಿಂಗ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಪದ ಹೇಳಿದೀನಿ, ಡೆಕ್ಕನ್ ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ. ರಿವೋಲ್ಟ್ಗೂ ಸಭಾಗೂ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ವೇನೋ? ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮ್ಸ್ ಹುಷಾರ್ ಕೊಡೋ ನೀನು, ಸರಿನಾ? Deccan Sabha was an organization that was founded by Gopal Krishna Gokhale in 1896. Gopal Krishna Gokhale in 1896. Okay. He felt there are not too many organizations in Deccan region which is highlighting the issues of the Deccan people. He wanted to bring into light the issues of the Deccan masses through prayer petition, obviously. 1896, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Deccan Sabha. And Servants of India Society, 1904, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Why it was established? See, with regard to Gokhale, right now itself we formed two organizations. One is Deccan Sabha, Servants of India Society. Deccan Sabha 1896, Servants of India Society 1904. What is the objective of Servants of India Society? It is a PYQ. To prepare volunteers for the service of the nation. Not to protect the religion, not to spread economic colonialism, not to oppose the British, but it was meant to prepare volunteers for the service of the nation. Okay? So remember that. And then Dadabhai Nauroji. This is the kind of questions UPSC is going to ask. Answer this. ಈಗ ಹೇಳ್ರ ಆನ್ಸರು. ಟಿನಾ, ಏನಾ, ಬೀನಾ? 1 and 3. First one, British rule was exploitative but reformable. Moderates, what did they demand? Reforms to the British administration. Who exploited? Who told about theory of drain of wealth? Dadabhai Naoroji. He was the one who highlighted the exploitation, and he was the one who thought we can reform them through prayers and petitions. So therefore he became moderate. The first statement is correct, logically. Second statement, he demanded complete independence from beginning. There was no concept of complete independence. Or if I replace complete independence with Swaraj, will the statement be right? He demanded Swaraj. Just the word, he demanded Swaraj. If I change it, just remove this from mind. Consider the second statement, he demanded Swaraj. Yes, 1906 Calcutta resolutions. Swaraj, forcefully or voluntarily, he passed a resolution which consisted of the word Swaraj. So he demanded what? Swaraj. 1906 Calcutta resolutions. Understood? He demanded Swaraj. What is the meaning and interpretation of Swaraj? That is a different thing. But he demanded Swaraj. Understood? Pattern matching. Aitalvena? Okay. Now, next question. Drain of wealth. See, indirectly I am explaining you what is drain of wealth. What are the elements of drain? So, who wrote the book Theory of Drain of Wealth? Dadabhai Naoroji. Which year it was published? 125 years ago. 1901. Yaro 1906 andidu. TSAT 1901. Okay? Remember, 1901 it was published 125 years ago. Theory of Drain of Wealth. Therefore, one specific question about Theory of Drain of Wealth. Okay? What were the elements of drain? Home charges. What is home charges? By the way, what is home charges? Hey, answer ಹೇಳು. ನಿನ್ಗಲ್ಲ ತಾಳೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ಯಾ, ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗು. ತರಲೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬಾ, 5:15 ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ. ನಾನಿನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋಣ, ಇವಾಗ ಬೇಡ, ಇವಾಗ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊ, ಸರಿನಾ? ನಾನೇನೋ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ದೇ ಇರೋ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇದು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. ತರಲೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೇಡ, ಸರಿನಾ? ಇದು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗ್ತೈತೆ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ನೀವು. ನಾನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಬೇಕಿಲ್ಲ, ಸರಿ? ನನ್ನ ಆಬ್ಲಿಗೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ನೀವು, ನನ್ನ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್. ನಾನು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಬಯಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಹಂಗಂತ ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಅಡ್ವಾಂಟೇಜ್ ತಗೋತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ನೀನು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಡ. 5:15 ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸೆಷನ್ ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆಮೇಲೆ ತಗೊಂತೀನಿ ನಾನು ಮತ್ತೆ ನಿನ್ಗೆ. Home charges. What is home charges? Hey, not just British officials, man. It is the salaries, allowance and pensions paid to the members of Council of India. Paid to the members of Council of India or India Office. Salaries, allowance and pensions paid to the members of Council of India or India Office. And this Council of India was an advisory body to Secretary of State. Who is Secretary of State? He is a member of British Parliament and he is answerable and accountable to British Crown and Parliament about the Indian administration. To advise the Secretary of State, there was what? Council of India. They are doing the British job, but salary is being paid from Indian money. So that is home charges. And pensions of British officials, salaries, remittances, all these things. Okay. Trade deficit alone. No. Trade deficit alone is not home charges. And then interest on public debt raised in Britain. See, to start the developmental works, to construct the irrigation, to construct the railways, they used to take loans from British public. For that, they paid very high interest. Okay, that is also one of the forms of drain. So here, remove only the third option. All other three, they are the forms of, they constitute the drain of wealth. Okay, fine. And then next question. Answer this. And again, there is a reason to ask this question. There is a reason. See, some people understood the reason. 125th anniversary. 1901 volume 1, 1903 volume 2. Okay. He was an ICS officer, Ramesh Chandra Dutt. He wrote the book, The Economic History of India. Okay. And his book, along with Dadabhai Naoroji's book, Poverty and Unbritish Rule in India, they form the very basis of exposing the economic exploitation of British in India. We got theory of drain of wealth, no? We started economic nationalism. The basis of economic nationalism in India is their works. R.C. Dutt and Dadabhai Naoroji. They laid the foundation, they laid the platform. Okay? And he wrote one more book, R.C. Dutt, Famines in India. R.C. Dutt, he wrote one more book called as Famines in India, 1900. Along with the 2 volumes of this, before writing this, he wrote one more book called as Famines in India, 1900. Okay? And that book, Famines in India, on basis of that book only, UPSC in 2022, they asked a direct question about famines in India. Mains question. Famines in India was mainly because of British economic policies. That was the crux of the question. Okay? That was mainly based on R.C. Dutt's book, The Famines in India. Okay? And read this question. R.C. Dutt argued that Indian famines were primarily caused by natural climatic variability. This is not a geography question, so obviously he is not a geographist, he is a nationalist. First option gone. Overpopulation. Right. Colonial land revenue policies. Okay. Remove the word alone. Remove the word alone. Can you consider the statement D? Yes. Because decline of traditional handicrafts pushed more people into agriculture. Overcrowding of agriculture. Dependence on the land increased. Fragmentation of land, productivity decreased. So that is also a reason, but that alone is not the reason. If you remove the word alone, even this is also an indirect reason. Because decline of traditional crafts lead to overcrowding of agriculture. Overcrowding of agriculture led to fragmentation of land. Fragmentation of land led to decline in productivity. Remember this. Okay. Therefore, whenever there were famine, more people were impacted. There were more deaths. Okay. And then Bengali newspaper, Surendranath Banerjee. Surendranath Banerjee left INC because what? Disagreed with Gandhian mass politics. Anand Mohan Bose was associated with all except option D, servants of India society. See, when I told he is a member of Brahmo Samaj, he founded Sadharan Brahmo Samaj, he advocated and supported widow remarriage, girls education, all these things. That is a part of reforms. Option C is correct. He advocated widow remarriage because he was a reformer. Understood? He was not a friend of Radhakant Deb, no? Radhakant Deb was the only one who opposed all these things. But apart from him, everyone else supported. Almost everyone else supported. So option C is also correct. And He was not associated with the formation of Servants of India Society, because who was the founder? Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Which year? 1915. 04. What was the objective? To produce volunteers for the service of the nation. Okay. Does it have any religious intent? Does it have any economic intent? Does it have any political intent? No. Prepare volunteers for the service of the nation. And okay. Next one. What was the important characteristic of Gopal Krishna Gokhale's political approach? Mass civil disobedience. He did not advocate mass movements at all. Revolutionary socialism? No. Against the word revolution. And then ethical constitutionalism? Yes. Cultural nationalism. Swami Vivekananda, Swami Dayananda Saraswati, they advocated cultural nationalism, not him. Okay? And question nano. Servants of India Society, Deccan Sabha, Liberals Federation of India. Who established Liberals Federation of India? Surendranath Banerjee. Why? Against Gandhi's approach of mass politics. Okay? Why? M.N. Roy, founder of Communist Party of India, founded Mexican Communist Party. He later rejected. See, this is the first statement we will scratch off. Mexican Communist Party go, M.N. Roy go, yen sambandha irutte guru. Scratch it up. Because this seems more illogical than first statement. First statement, Party of India, no. M.N. Roy, Nammuru. Understood? So this is where most of us will go wrong. Okay? He rejected the orthodox Marxism in favor of radical communalism. See, I gave you 3 stages. First, Marxist. Second one, Comintern. Last one, radical humanism. He did not even like Stalinist approach. He did not even like Stalinist approach. He differed from Stalin. So, third statement is also correct. Okay? So now, this is about extremist phase. Let me open another phase, like whatever we discussed, moderate phase. We'll also open that. Take 5 minutes of break. We'll continue with the discussion. Meanwhile, you'll load the PDF into the board. In meanwhile, I also have to talk about few more things. Okay. We'll also talk about few more things about moderate phase. Then we'll solve these questions. End of today's session. Tomorrow, extremist Surat session, Curzon, Minto, and constitutional reforms. Tomorrow's session is going to be very important because of constitutional reforms. Starting from the Government of India Act 1858 till 1935. We'll trace it all together. Okay. So this is going to be very important because every year one pakka question from this topic. So that is what we are going to discuss in tomorrow's session. Apart from extremism, Surat split, Swadeshi movement. Swadeshi movement is again a very important topic from the prelims perspective. Okay. It is one of the most favorite topics of UPSC, whether it comes to mains or prelims. So we'll study that also. And from extremist, from a long time a question is pending. So we will see whether they'll be given prominence this year. We'll cover that also. Okay. So take a break. 4:45 it is. Break till 4:55. Now, welcome back. Quickly, we'll go through the moderate phase. Okay. The first 20 years after the formation of INC, we'll refer to it as moderate phase. 1885 to 1905, moderate phase. And in the moderate phase, first statement itself says they believed that British rule was exploitative in nature, but it was reformable. As I told you, there was a question, Dadabhai Naoroji. You believe that British rule was exploitative but can be reformed. Reformed through what? Constitutional methods. What are the constitutional methods? Petition, protest. Okay. And then what did they advocate? They advocated constitutionalism. Gradualism is gradual changes. They did not want sudden changes, overnight changes, gradual changes, reforms, slow-paced reforms. They were okay with it. And they also followed P3, prayer, petition, protest. They passed resolutions to put forward the demands. In INC sessions, they passed resolutions now. 1905, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Banaras session. They condemned the partition of Bengal, gave call for boycott. 1906, Calcutta session, Dadabhai Naoroji, Swaraj. They demanded Swaraj from whom? British. Understood? They told Britishers, this is our demand, try to fulfill it. So like that, through resolutions, they try to demand British about their ideas, what is required for India, all these things. Okay. They also used press to put forward their ideas, because most of the early nationalists, they have 1 or 2 newspapers associated with their names. Most of the early nationalists. Take any nationalist. Surendranath Banerjee, Bengali. Dadabhai Naoroji, Ras Goftar, he wrote books. R.C. Dutt, he wrote books. Okay, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Hey, newspapers, ma. Newspapers or books? Which newspaper? Huh? You don't remember? Find out. Gopal Krishna Gokhale, which newspaper? He wrote articles for which newspaper? Okay. And Tilak associated with 2 important newspapers, Kesari and Maharatha, and Arvindo Ghosh, Vande Mataram. He wrote articles for Vande Mataram. Bipin Chandra Pal, New India. Firoz Shah Mehta, Bombay Chronicle. He wrote articles for Bombay Chronicle. He was the editor of Bombay Chronicle. But who was the founder of Bombay Chronicle? Firoz Shah Mehta was not the founder of Bombay Chronicle. There was a person called as B.G. Horniman. He was the president. Sorry, he was the founder of that newspaper. Firoz Shah Mehta was just the editor. And Firoz Shah Mehta, remember? Write down. Or else I haven't mentioned it. I have mentioned it. So he was one of the founding members of Bombay Presidency Association. He served as the commissioner of Bombay Municipal Corporation. Even today is known as father of BMC, Bombay Municipal Corporation. Elections happened, no? So even today is called as the father of Bombay Municipal Corporation, Firoz Shah Mehta. And then he served as the vice chancellor of Bombay University. He was the member of Bombay Provincial Legislative Council, and he was also the member of Imperial Legislative Council. And he is known for staging the first walkout in the history of Indian Parliament. He walked out of the Parliament protesting against the economic exploitation. When he put forward certain questions to the finance member did not give the appropriate response. As a mark of protest, he walked out of Parliament. Back then it was a very big news. Okay. And then he was the editor of the Bombay Chronicle newspaper. but he was not the founder. Okay, and he was a elitist but constitutionalist. He lacked the mass connect. He over relied on English. He did not use vernacular languages. He could not get connected with the people. He was an elitist. Okay, upper middle class, and he was a constitutionalist. Gradual reforms. Fine, and Firoz Shah Mehta, we are done. Gopal Krishna Gokhale, I think I've already told you. Okay, and then R.C. Dutt, I think also covered. Dadabhai Naoroji is covered. Yes or no? Dadabhai Naoroji, hey, not covered. Yavagaitu. East India Association, London India Society, member of British Parliament 1892. Okay, he used British institutions to criticize the British. He went to British Parliament, he talked against economic exploitation on India. Okay, economic history, sorry, the poverty and un-British rule in India, theory of drain of wealth, that gave the foundation of Indian economic nationalism. Understood? And then he also advocated Parsi reforms, education of Parsi women. He was also against child marriage. He published one Parsi newspaper called as Rash Goftar, and he was one of the founding member of INC, along with Evo Hume. Okay, he presided INC thrice, 1886, 1893 and 1906. And in 1906, 4 resolutions were adopted. Calcutta session, Swaraj, Swadeshi, national education and boycott. It was the first time INC passed Swaraj as a resolution. Who was the president at that time? Dadabhai Naoroji. When UPSC statement says he demanded Swaraj, yes, he demanded Swaraj, 1906 Calcutta resolution. So this is all about Dadabhai Naoroji. Okay, and now with regard to the moderate phase, they put forward legislative demands like give more representation to Indians, expand the legislature, give us the budgetary powers, introduce elections in India, etc. As a response to all these demands, Britishers gave us Indian Council Act of 1892. What were its features? We'll see tomorrow. All constitutional reforms, we'll take it up tomorrow. But as a response for moderates' demand of legislative reforms, Britishers gave this act. And moderates, most of the moderates were civil service aspirants. Once upon a time, they wanted to get into service, they could not get into. Now they wanted to reform the system. Nantara. Fine. Now they wanted to help others to get into the system, therefore they wanted to reform it. So, what did they demand? Increase in the age limit. They wanted to be increased to at least 21 or 23. Conduct simultaneous examination and Indianization of civil services. Do not discriminate against Indians, recruit more Indians. Okay. So as a response to this, Britishers set up Aitchison Committee 1886. Okay, Committee on Civil Services in India. So what did this committee say? Committee told no simultaneous examination. Write down, this is not there in the handout. Aitchison Committee on Civil Services refused simultaneous examination. They told we will only conduct in England. If you want, come and write, or else stay in home. They are not going to conduct it in India. ನೀವೇ ಕೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಪ್ಪ, ನಮ್ಮ ಮಂಡ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ತುಮಕೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಡಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಗುಲ್ಬರ್ಗ HK ಬಾಯ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ. UPS ಏನ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ? ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬಂದು ಬರೀರಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮನೇಲಿರಿ. Fine. So this is what they told. Second point, 3-tier restructuring. 3-tier, TIER. Tier means level. TIER, not TY, TI. ICS, Imperial Service, Provincial Service, Local Service. Similar to whatever is the system today. And Indians were promoted only to lower ranks. Indians were promoted only up to lower ranks. You were not given secretary level position and all. You were given only the lower ranks. Okay. And it agreed to increase the age limit. agreed to increase the age limit. Okay. Next, it was moderates who put forward the theory of drain of wealth, and as a response to the drain of wealth, British set up Welby Committee, 1895. This committee did not accept the drain of wealth. Rather, this committee told, yes, there has been some unnecessary fiscal burden on Indians. Unnecessary fiscal burdens, more administrative expenditure, etc. We will try to reduce it. But they outrightly refused the drain of wealth. They told, we are not taking anything away from you. Yes, there has been some unnecessary fiscal burdens, more expenditure on ICS, more expenditure on Indian Army, etc. But we will try to reduce it. But overall, there is no drain of wealth. Okay, and they also demanded civil liberties, freedom of speech, freedom of press, right to vote, etc. And the question comes, did moderates demand voting rights for the masses? Did they demand voting rights for the masses? Then for whom? Normal voting, let's say for example there is election, Imperial Legislative Council election. For that, did they demand the voting rights for all masses? Yes or no? Why? If yes, why? If no, why? So write down, moderates demanded voting rights for educated and elites, not for the common masses. Moderates demanded voting rights for educated and elites, not for the common masses. Why did you think that? Because they thought illiterate person will not be able to exercise his right with valid reasons. Okay. ದುಡ್ಡಿಗೇನಾದರೂ ಮಾರ್ಕೊಂಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಓಟು ಅಂತ. But you know the present situation, right? So they thought illiterate people will not be able to think logically based on reason. They might get emotional. They might get influenced by caste, religion, etc. Money, muscle power, etc. They'll tend to vote to some nonsensical people, undeserving people. Therefore, they thought only educated and elites, you give the voting rights, will not be influenced by money and muscle power. We are educated, therefore, we cannot be influenced by any caste, religion or ideology. We will perfectly cast the vote only on the basis of rationalism, reason, etc. But today also there is around 80% literacy. Okay. And voting rights is perfectly, votes are perfectly exercised on the basis of rationalism, reason. So, next point. Demanded welfare measures, spread of education, reduction in drain. They also demanded industrialization. Because Indian industries were closed down because of British economic policies, they told, they want industrialization. They want modern industries to come up in India. Okay. So, who advocated modern industries? Mainly M.G. Ranade. M.G. Ranade. Mahadev Govind Ranade. He published essays on Indian economy, series of essays, newspaper articles, and in that he clearly demanded establishment of modern industries in India. And M.G. Ranade is also known for one more thing. See, he wanted to bring social issues also into INC. He wanted to make social reforms also as an agenda of INC. But all other leaders were not okay with it. They told, if we try to bring social reforms, most of the people will remain away from INC. Because back then most of the people, Brahmins, Orthodox, highly educated. So if you want to attract those kind of people, you have to keep aside social reforms. Understood? So, what he did? M.G. Ranade organized Indian Social Conference. Right on. M.G. Ranade organized Indian Social Conference. Social Reforms Wing of INC. Social Reform Wings of INC. Social Reform Wing of INC. Why it was kept separate? Because most of the leaders of INC, write down, because most of the leaders of INC were against bringing and discussing social reforms agenda. For against bringing and discussing social reforms agenda on INC platform. Okay. And Indian Social Conference session, write down. ISC sessions means Indian Social Conference sessions were organized at same place and venue after INC annual session. After INC annual session. 1887 INC session in Madras. Once INC annual session gets over, Indian Social Conference session will start at the same place. If you want, you can take part. 1886 Calcutta session, Dadabhai Nauroji. Once that session is over, Indian Social Conference session will start there only. If you want, you can take part. Not mandatory. Okay. Next point. They advocated women's education. They advocated women's education, widow remarriage, opposed child marriage, in bracket, started pledge movement, Pratigne, pledge, started pledge movement, where members took pledge against child marriage, Okay. We will not allow our family members, when our children, will not force our children to get married early. So that was the pledge. Okay. And Ramabai Ranade was actively involved with Indian Social Conference. Who was she? Wife of M.G. Ranade. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಜೊತೆಲೆ ಬರೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಡೌಟ್ ಬರಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ. Ramabai Ranade was actively involved with activities of ISC, Indian Social Conference. See, there will be one more woman called as Pandita Ramabai. She is different. Ramabai Ranade and Pandita Ramabai are different. Okay. So don't confuse both of them together. Okay. And then what was their important limitation? They were elites. They belonged to urban upper middle class. They did not understand the problems of the common people. They were not familiar with the problems of subaltern societies, the people of village, farmers, peasants, etc. They were not familiar with their problems. They did not raise their voice in support of them. Okay. And they communicated mostly in English, whether during the speeches or in the pamphlets or in the books or in the newspaper articles. So the people, when they did not communicate in vernacular language, they could not connect with more people. Okay. So English was an elite language. So common people did not understand that. Therefore, they could not connect with the masses. Third point, limited mass contact. They did not believe in mass movements. Because they thought masses are ignorant. They are divided on the lines of caste, religion, etc. They are illiterates. They can't fight. So they did not believe in masses. But extremists believed in masses. Okay, and they had excessive faith on British, and most of them were loyal to British. Okay, excessive faith in British, and most of them were loyal to British. And there were certain sessions where they passed a resolution demanding the God to bless the Queen with more health, better health, and more age. Long live the Queen. Like that, they used to pass resolutions also. Earlier years, more loyal. Okay. Later, they wanted reforms, not Swaraj. They were okay with British rule. They just wanted reforms. First 20 years, they just wanted reforms. After 20 years, they changed little. 1885 to 1905, they will not talk about Swaraj. 1906, they will talk about Swaraj. Little change. Why? Mainly because of extremists and little because of Curzon. Okay. The Purna Swaraj was the word that was popularized by Bhagat Singh. But when the word became very popular, who passed it as a resolution? Thatcher. Understood? So Swaraj was the word that was popularized by extremists. And when the word became very popular, who passed it as a resolution? Moderates. So before they take the credit, we will only take it away from politics. Little politics will be there. Okay. So now this is about the moderate phase. We'll take up the questions. Just a minute. ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಓಕೆ ಇದು ಕೇಳ್ರಪ್ಪ ಅಯ್ಯೋ Okay. Answer with honesty. So, tomorrow. ಯಾಕೆ ರಾವ್ ಕಾಲ ಏನೋ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಹೇಳಲ್ಲ ನೀನ್ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಹೋಗು ಹೋಯ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪಿಂಗ್ ಯೋ ನಾನು ಅವಾಗಿಂದ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲೈವ್ ಐತೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಹೇಳ್ರಪ್ಪ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ which of the following statements were correct? Introduced indirect elections through local bodies. Indirect elections. Was the word election mentioned? No. Okay. It allowed members to vote on the budget? No. It marked the first formal recognition of organized political opposition. Organized political opposition party and then recognition kotra. So which of the following statements are correct? A. Okay. And now Indian Council Act best described as, did it transform power to Indians? Indian Independence Act 1947 transferred power to Indians, but before that no act transformed us, it transferred us the power. Secondly, procedural reform without substantive executive accountability. ಯಾಕೋ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಉದ್ದ ಆಯ್ತಿದು. Okay. Outcome of present reforms? No. Response to extremist agitation? No. 1892 moderates were in dominance. So second statement ಉದ್ದ ಆದ್ರೂ ಅದೇ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. Elimination approach. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? See, you eliminated all others. Extremists were not Okay. Peasant movements, how is it related to legislative reforms? No. First statement, did it transfer power? As I told you, power was not transferred to Indians before Indian Independence Act 1947. So first statement is wrong. Third and fourth also wrong. Okay. The most significant implication of Aichison committee recommendations was that, what was it? Ended racial discrimination in service, abolished the Indian civil service, accelerated Indian participation in administration. Did it lead to recruitment of more Indians? No. Britishers told, we'll recruit Indians only for lower ranks. Okay. So what is the only thing remained? Racial hierarchy. All Britishers top, all Indians lower ranks. So what is it? Racial hierarchy. Okay. And then Welby committee was about what? Indian public finance, drain of wealth. It is also called as Committee on Expenditure in India, Royal Committee on Expenditure in India. Okay. And next one, Welby committee. Did it accept the drain theory? No. Did it endorse the moderate economic nationalism? Obviously no. It acknowledged symptoms but rejected the structural critique. They told, okay, there is some over expenditure in some areas, we'll correct it, but overall there is no drain of wealth. Okay. So that is one thing. Poverty and Unbritish Rule in India, published 1901. I have already told you. Okay. Relied on which of the following methods? Petitions and memorandums, legislative council, debates, and then mass satyagraha. No. Mass satyagraha is the idea of Gandhi. Before Gandhi, no satyagraha. Mass movement, extremist. Mass action, mass movement, extremist. Moderates, no satyagraha. Even extremist also, no satyagraha. Satyagraha is a term only related to Gandhi. Okay. Evidence before commissions. Yes. Because, wait, write down. Gopal Krishna Gokhale presented evidences of drain or submitted the evidences of drain before Welby committee. Gopal Krishna Gokhale submitted evidences of drain before Welby committee. And Dadabhai Naoroji also gave a lot of evidence. Financial mismatches, drain of wealth, he also gave a lot of evidence. But will Britishers accept it? Okay. They will not accept it, that's a different story. And then, which of the following statements about Firoz Shah Mehta are correct? Which statements? Did he found the Bombay Chronicle? No. I told B.G. Horniman. Okay. He presided the first session of INC. Obviously no. W.C. Banerjee. He staged the first ever legislative walkout in India. Yes. Last one, he opposed the legislative participation. No. Because he himself served as a member of Bombay Provincial Legislative Council as well as ILC. Okay. And then, rise of extremists. Rise of extremists. Complete failure of moderates. Huh? No. Moderates did not completely fail. They laid the platform. See, when extremists came, they talked about boycott, they talked about Swadeshi. Both this boycott and Swadeshi, it is based on economic nationalism that was propounded by moderates. Moderates exposed the economic exploitation by British. And extremists gave the solution, kind of solution to it, how to overcome it. That was boycott, that was Swadeshi industries. Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atma Shakti, that was the concept that was propagated by extremists. Understood? So, moderates was not complete failure. For moderates to act, who gave the ideological basis? Sorry, for extremists to act, who gave the ideological basis? Moderates. The first statement is wrong. So, revolutionary? No. Limits exposed by moderate constitutional methods. So, they were just sticking themselves to prayer, petition, protest, no matter what happens. So they did not demand reforms. They were overly loyal to British. So these constitutional methods expose their limitations. Therefore, extremists thought we need mass agitation. We need to try something else because these methods are not working. And next, what is it? Is it a failed experiment? No. As I told you, they gave the basis. They gave the political education, they gave the basis. And is it a phase without political significance? No. When Dadabhai Naoroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale are there, it has got a lot of significance. Because Dadabhai Naoroji, Grand Old Man of India, first Indian to be the member of British Parliament, poverty and un-British rule, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, mentor of Gandhi. When all of them are there, there will be a lot of political significance. And a purely economic critic without political outcomes. No. Because right now, we wrote down about the outcomes. Aichison Committee, Welby Committee, Act of 1892, they are the outcomes. So what is the only logical thing? See, they did a lot of work. It is a foundational phase. They promoted nationalism, but they had limitations. So that is the only logical thing. See, when you are confused about something, no, try to use logic to eliminate others. Elimination approach, that is the best approach because that will prevent a lot of mistakes. Logically counter every statement until and unless you remain with one option. Understood? The first, second and fourth, I countered it logically. Because first two, it is extreme. No political significance, completely failed. No, it is wrong. They did not completely fail. Okay, theory of drain of wealth, that itself is enough. And lastly, they had political outcomes. Aichison Committee, Act of 1892, that itself is enough. The only logical statement that remains is C. Okay. So now, read the handouts. Read the handouts. Try to prepare a mind map like this. After the class, try to revise it, prepare it. Okay. This is what is going to help you to revise effectively. Don't just try to memorize this. You try to write down something like this. Understood? Close everything and then try to write down something like this. If something is missed, well and good. You have an opportunity to correct yourself before going to the examination. But one thing that summarizes most of our discussions. Fine. And then today morning we discussed about later Mughals. Let me summarize everything in this one slide. Later Mughals, Bahadur Shah, and later Farooq Siyar, Syed brothers, Chaud and Sardesh Mukhi, Dastak to British. Friendly approach, Chaye Bekabar, Jagirdari crisis. I am just helping you revise. Okay? And then Muhammad Shah Rangila, foreign invasions, fragmentation of empire, Bajirao invaded Delhi. And after him, there was succession crisis. There was one more kingmaker called as Imadul Mulk. Later comes Shah Alam. Emperor without empire, Battle of Buxar, Treaty of Allahabad. First blind Mughal emperor, first emperor to be pensioned by the British. And after him comes Akbar II. So the title Raja and currency. They stopped printing currency in his name. Lastly, Bahadur Shah Zafar. Collection of poems, Kuliyat-e Zafar. And he was proclaimed as the leader of the revolt and also the Emperor of India by people who revolted in 1857. Okay? And these things led to two important implications. The provision of Chowth and Sardeshmukhi to Marathas, as I told you, that led to rise of Marathas. That was an important foundation. So, who secured it? Balaji Vishwanath. Balaji Vishwanath. He laid a strong foundation and followed by his son Baji Rao, who formed a confederacy, raided Delhi, expanded the empire. He was a very good strategist, very good leader, everything. Okay. Confederacy means 5 families. Peshwas of Pune, Sindhyas of Gwalior, Holkars of Indore. I told you, no, Gaikwads of Baroda, Bhosles of Nagpur, etc. Okay. And after him, Balaji Bajirao. So I told you, Cuttack to Attock in Pakistan. But third battle of Panipat. That led to the complete downfall of Marathas. But what led to the great resurgence of Marathas? Who was the Peshwa? Madhav Rao. So, Madhav Rao tried to regain the past glory. He did his efforts. But after him, the crisis actually started. Narayan Rao, killed by Raghunath Rao or Raghoba. But Raghunath Rao was not accepted by Bara boys. Bara means 12. Nana Fadnavis. And what did he do? He went to British, signed Treaty of Surat. So this was the genesis of first Anglo-Maratha war. And after Narayan Rao, it was, as I told you, Madhav Rao II. Was an infant Peshwa under the control of Prime Minister Nana Fadnavis. But he committed suicide in the year 1796. Later came Baji Rao II, son of Raghunath Rao. So 1796 to 1818. So during his time, 2 wars. Second Anglo-Maratha War, 1802 to 05. Why it happened? Because of internal conflicts among Marathas, especially against Holkars. Holkar attacked Peshwa. Peshwa went running to British, signed a treaty called as Treaty of Bassein, which was indirectly the Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance. Later refused to oblige by it, so that led to war. In this war, Britishers won, and all Maratha Confederacy was forced to accept Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance. And lastly, third war, because of Peshwa's support to Pindaris. Pindaris were creating problem for British, and Peshwa and such other prominent leaders of Maratha Confederacy were indirectly supporting Pindaris. So Britishers got angry, that led to third war. Third war, Marathas were finally defeated, and Britishers told, you are the last Peshwa, after you, no succession. But he adopted a son, and this son demanded to be the Peshwa. He wanted pension also, and he joined the revolt of 1857. Okay, so this is the story of Marathas. And with regard to British, I've already told you about the Carnatic Wars, reasons for the rise of British. First war, 46 to 48. Second war, 49 to 54. And Servants of India Society, it is 1905. Sorry, not 1904, 1905. So change it in your notes. And third war, 58 to 60 in India, but worldwide, 56 to 63. So in this war, there is something called as Battle of Vandivash. So this was end of French East India Company in India. And on the other hand, we also discussed Battle of Plassey, Battle of Bedara and Chinsura, and also the Battle of Buxar. Okay. So Battle of Buxar has got a lot of significance because of Treaty of Allahabad. Because here the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam, he got 27 lakh per annum pension, and in return he gave Diwani rights. So this point assumes a lot of significance. This is considered as the foundational event for the rise of British Empire in India. Okay. And after this, we discussed a lot of other things related to pre-Congress political organizations. We also discussed about the moderate phase, important leaders, personalities, and some of them, luckily or coincidentally, they were coinciding with the social reforms. For example, whether it was Rajaram Mohan Roy or Debendranath Tagore or Keshab Chandra Sen, they were all coinciding with the socio-religious reforms. And UPSC, whenever there is overlapping things, UPSC will be more interested in them. Okay. So by and large, we have covered most of such personalities who overlaps with both social reforms as well as nationalism. Social reforms plus nationalism. Those multifaceted personalities, we are trying to cover them today. Okay. So tomorrow, as I told you, extremist phase, Swadeshi movement, Curzon, Minto, and also Surat split and constitutional reforms. And after that, I'll also tell you about Lytton and Ripon. I was supposed to tell today only, but I forgot. Lytton and Ripon, yeah, both. Lytton and Ripon, we will cover it tomorrow, the first thing. Then we will go into all the other things. Just please remind me, Lytton and Ripon. We'll start with them, then we'll proceed to other things. Okay? So, tomorrow, post-lunch session, we will discuss about economic policies of British. Their land revenue policy, their trade and tariff policy, drain of wealth, everything we'll discuss again. Okay. So that is also very important. So pay attention. Tomorrow is going to be a very important day, and probably by end of tomorrow we will reach HRL 1920. Day after, full day Gandhi. Full day Gandhi. So after that, we have got tribal peasant revolts, social religious reforms, and reforms by now half of it done. Half of it is done. There are certain factual things which are supposed to be remembered. So we'll discuss all of them. Okay. So fifth day, by the end of fifth day, I'll make you solve so many questions that you have got very good clarity. We'll revise in class itself. I'll give you handouts. So we'll try to recall and revise everything then and there itself. Okay. So now your only job is to go back home, solve the PYQs that appeared from these areas. It's your responsibility. Okay. So thank you all. See you all tomorrow.